Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Norwich Talk for another match preview. Norwich City take on Coventry City in the Championship tomorrow or today, depending on when you are watching this video. A game where I think we are probably expecting 3 points from Norwich City, but Norwich City as a club find themselves in quite an interesting position at the moment in terms of results are looking very positive. Performances across 90 in their matches have been quite sort of varied, haven't they? Some have been sort of solid performances across the 90. Some have been tactically influenced by Dean Smith in terms of bringing subs off the bench to impact the game. We saw that against Birmingham, didn't we, in terms of Onel Hernandez coming off the bench and scoring the winner for Norwich. But we're here to give you my 11, a few thoughts ahead of the game as per usual. So I think what we'll do is, because I've made a very long video, well, I say a video, it was a live stream, first one in a while, hopefully they're now back to stay after the Birmingham game. If you want my thoughts on that, make sure you go and watch that. It was really good fun to be doing those streams again. I'm looking forward to doing more. So what we'll do is we'll get straight into the starting 11 with Tim Krul in goal. Made some good, or has been making good saves this season. I think, what was it, the Sunderland game? There was a couple of really important saves, and he's proving his worth at the moment. Across the back line for me, quite a simple one. Sam Byram, Andrew Omobamidele, Grant Hanley and Max Aarons. That's my back four. I think it kind of explains itself really. Grant Hanley, since my opinions of him have kind of slightly altered and deteriorated, if anything, has been an absolute rock, really proving his worth. I still think he's a bit clumsy on the ball, but to be honest with you, at this level, he is proving his value at the moment, as of the past couple of weeks. Sunderland, especially, where he got man of the match and was just an absolute rock. Big Andy got his goal against Birmingham, really deserved. We say it every week, Rolls Royce of a footballer. Sam Byram hopefully can stay fully fit. Norwich didn't sign a fullback in the summer transfer window towards the end, given the injuries. I think Dean Smith said in his press conference he would have liked to have signed a left back, but they couldn't. So in terms of how I feel about that, it could be worse. The only sort of worry, I guess, is losing Sam Byram to injury. But I mean, at this point, we can't do anything, can we? We can't go back and change that. Fingers crossed he stays fully fit. Max Aarons, again, quality for this league. There is the risk of repetition when talking about Max Aarons in terms of match previews, because it's just the same every week. Very good footballer. Really surprised he's here. Fingers crossed he's here until at least, well, he will be here until at least January, and hopefully can continue to contribute as much as he usually does in these matches. Now, this is where the 11 gets a bit more interesting. And, again, it's worth emphasising this is a preferred 11. I'm not sure it's particularly realistic, but also at the same time, I think with my explanation, I think it could be quite realistic. I'm going for a 4-2-2, a 4-4-2, whatever you want to call it. My midfield two in front of the back four are Kenny McLean and Gabriel Sara. Sara? Is it Sara? I think it's Sara, isn't it? My mistake. Kenny McLean, Sara. McLean on the left, sort of deeper than Sara. You've got on the graphic here next to me McLean being behind the halfway line. That's just more of a visual representation of who's going to be going further forward as the neighbours' dogs start to go crazy. Sara hopefully will inject that bit more creativity into the team. I'd like to see him start at this point. Kieran Dowell in that midfield three system blows hot and cold, really. And I think it's at a point now where it needs tweaking, because Norwich need to be dominating games across the 90 if they're going to go ahead and get promoted back into the Premier League. And I don't think that three in a midfield system is, well, with that personnel anyway that it has been, which is McLean, Nunes and Dowell, I don't think that is particularly sustainable, which is why I'm throwing Sarah in, I would say, the deep end, but it's a home fixture against Coventry, who I think are kind of struggling at the moment. So yeah, there are worse times for him to be sort of thrown into the mix. Now, in terms of the two wide players, you notice I do air quotations there. They aren't particularly wide. They're just the front, or the middle two, sorry. I've got Marcelino Nunes and Danel Sinani. In terms of how I want that system to play, I think it can be quite, fluid, if that makes sense. Where they go, it is kind of up to them, because they're the creative outlets, if I can get my words out. On the front foot, I think what you'll see naturally is Sinani sort of push out to the right and cut in on his left. It's what he's been pretty good at this season. Was pretty mute against Birmingham, but we know he has that in the bag. I really like Danel Sinani. He is kind of the player which it's more so acceptable from an attacker than a midfielder, in terms of he can sort of drift out of the game, come back in, get an assist, drift out of the game, come back in, score. It's one thing I quite like about him. He's very fast as well, and in this team and what I've got in front of me here, it's not lacking pace, but it's not got sort of bundles of it. And I think Sinani will sort of boost Norwich's sort of pace on the break, if you will. Nunes, in terms of on the front foot, his role in this team for me would be just go and do what you want. Get the ball, take players on, get the ball, switch to play, take a long shot. He's also got, set piece specialist to his name, I guess. The one against Birmingham where Ruddy made a really good save, although questionably could have parried it away rather than towards the goal. I'm not a goalkeeper, so I can't possibly comment. But yeah, it's good to have that. Go and do your thing, Marcelino. I think he was really good against Birmingham. He kind of started off getting a bit beaten up, but the stats prove that he was one of the sort of the best players on the pitch, really, which is a massive positive. Let's not forget his age. Still very young and very promising. In front of those two, I'm going for, I'm sure you've guessed it by now, Teemu Pukki and Josh Sargent. Now, in terms of how I think this could look going forward, you've got Adam Eder in the mix. You've got Jordan Hugill, who I don't really know how much of an influence he'll have on this season. There we go. I managed to phrase out that stuttering too badly. But you've got kind of 4 strikers, and that's quite a lot by Norwich's standards. And I think, given the qualities we've seen from Pukki this season in terms of him being a bit more of a creator, and Sargent's ability in the box to be quite deadly, I think those two up front could work really well together. And worst case, you just swap out Sargent for Eder and you get that pace and that ability to run at a player. You swap in Hugill, you get that ability to cross the ball into the box. I mean, you have that with Sargent anyway, but you get that more physical presence if you play Jordan Hugill. And I think Dean Smith could possibly just sort of play around with it, really. It's not like in that 4 there's a lack of quality anywhere, really. I think Jordan Hugill is probably the weakest link, but at the same time, if he's on the pitch with another striker, say Sargent or Pukki, that lesser quality isn't as highlighted, doesn't have as harsh a spotlight sort of shone down on it. I think the dynamic of those two up front could work really well for sort of the aforementioned reasons. And this 11 as a whole, for me, I think it seems quite exciting. It's got a bit of this, a bit of that, and by that I mean you've got fullbacks who are willing to attack. I think Sam Byram on the front foot is actually pretty good, pretty underrated. I think where there is the disadvantage of him being right-footed on the left-hand side, there is also an advantage in terms of he can cut inside and use his right foot, which, Danel Sinani on the opposing side likes to do. You've got physicality in the midfield a bit in terms of McLean. He does the running for about 4 or 5 players, so that's where I have faith in terms of him and Sarah, to be able to help the team tick, if you will. Nunes and Sinani, I think there's different types of creativity between them. Nunes is more flair, Danel Sinani is more get your head down, run, shoot. And Pukki and Sargent we've already spoken about. In terms of on the back foot, I think you can maybe switch it to a 4-2-3-1 and Sargent drop deeper, because I think it's more likely to expect more running out of him than, say, Teemu Pukki. Sargent, you look at his second goal. Was it second? I think, the second goal against Millwall, where his physical presence was just second to none. I think that shows he is able to sort of do the dirty work. And, one thing that we've always praised about Josh Sargent from the very beginning is his work ethic. And that, for me, is why this system could work. Final thoughts ahead of the game. I'm hoping and expecting a Norwich City win. I'm hoping as well, and I do believe there will be an improved performance. It feels kind of harsh to not start Hernandez, but I think it's quite obvious that off the bench, he's just a fantastic option. We spoke, didn't we, about the idea that when Hernandez starts a game, he sort of fizzles out, whereas when he comes off the bench for the llast 15 to 20 minutes, he's an absolute nightmare for fullbacks, which is a positive thing for Norwich City. Coventry, as a team, from whenever I've seen them, it's always positive. I know they've had off the pitch their struggles in terms of the stadium, but we're not here to talk about that. Mark Robbins, former Norwich player, of course, has done a pretty decent job. Dean Smith sung his praises in terms of sort of the style of football that he's established last season. They finished mid-table when they just got promoted. I think a lot of people were probably expecting relegation, as is the case with teams who get promoted. But I think they'll be fine this season. Hopefully they won't be fine tomorrow. But yeah, final thoughts, expecting a Norwich City win. I'd like a clean sheet, but at the end of the day, 3 points is 3 points. I just want goals. I want goals and excitement. Not bothered about conceding too many until Isaac Hayden gets back. speak more about that, I suppose, in the next video. I'm planning on doing a live stream, sort of a summer transfer window review. Going to hopefully get a guest or two on for that, so we can review Norwich's transfer activity, where they did well, because they have done well, where maybe they could have improved. But, you know, as is the case with supporting Norwich City, it will always be, what if this, what if that? That's all for this video. Fingers crossed for 3 points for Norwich City tomorrow. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below, what your 11 would be, what you think about my system. A thumbs up would be appreciated as well. If you would like to subscribe to the channel, that would also be greatly appreciated. We are approaching 1.7 thousand subscribers, so we are even closer to the goal of 2k subscribers. Why is that a goal? I don't know. 2,000 looks like a nice number. But yeah, that is all until next time. And until next time, I'll see you again very, very soon.